So guys, I wanted to talk about something that isn't particularly confirmed for War Thunder, but it is interesting. So yesterday, I think it was, some little things appeared on War Thunder Mobile. And of course, the development of War Thunder Mobile is completely different from normal War Thunder. So just because it's there doesn't mean that it's ever going to be added to the normal War Thunder. But at least it made me think again. So let's start. So they found basically South Korean flags for the War Thunder Mobile, meaning that they might be adding very soon South Korean vehicles, right? And then honestly, it came to me that we had a leak, right? I think it was around 2-3 months ago, that we basically had from the guys that leaked the iPhone 17 and everything that has been leaking from the Discord lately, and they are getting almost everything right and everything. One of the leaks that they leaked there is that there is a high probability that the North Korean tech tree will be added to the Chinese tech tree and the South Korean one will be added to the US. And I wanted to talk about it. First of all, is it realistic? And second, let's take a look on two examples to reiterate the point that I'm gonna make, okay? So first things first, in my opinion, guys, the South and North Koreans, they deserve their own tech tree, okay? In my opinion, I think we need to have their own, like, tech tree, even if it's small. It's probably going to be on the very least the same size or similar to the Israeli tech tree. So I don't think size really matter over here. It will have enough vehicles to be added that it's going to be enough to have a tech tree in the game. And adding, of course, both North and South, although yes, it is kind of controversial together to add these two nations. It is less controversial than adding these nations to other countries. And why is that? Think about that. First of all, adding, for example, the South Koreans to Japanese. Well, the Japanese invaded Korea, and it is one of the reasons the invasion of Japan there, together, of course, with the US and Cold War and the USSR, right? Both countries in Cold War and stuff, that they are divided until this day, right? But it would be controversial. They invaded the country, so it wouldn't make sense to the Japanese, right? But the US, I mean, does it really make sense? The Chinese for the North Koreans, like, honestly, it's less controversial than the Japanese, but it's still controversial, and I think it would be less controversial to add them in the same tech tree. After all, we have China the way that it is in the game right now, so having North and South Korea would be the same or even less controversial than that, right? So this is my point. We need to have these two nations being added as their own tech tree, okay? This is my opinion. And we're gonna have maybe they're being added as subtrees, right? But I'm gonna show to you guys, in the case of the South Koreans, why it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have them in the US. Unless it's a very specific vehicle here and there, and event vehicles and something like that, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I have two vehicles that I wanted to talk about specifically for aircraft, because tanks, yes, we have the K1 that can be added there, for example, for the US. There would be a different take of something similar to an Abrams, right? So it would make sense even to have something like that. It's a different flavor and everything, okay. But then, think about the aircraft, guys. If you take a look even in the higher ranks, there is two aircraft that can be added there. One of them would be the F-15K, and the other one would be the KF-16C. So what are those vehicles? So the F-15K at first feels like, oh, maybe it's something different and stuff. And it is indeed. It is a little bit different than the normal American F-15s. This is a derivative from the F-15E. So it's the B placed at one. It would use the F-100 engines, 229s, you know, so it would be a little bit stronger and everything. And the cool part about this aircraft is that, for example, the engines are made by Samsung. The radar is made by Lignax One, I think that's the name of it. So Samsung produces the radar warning receiver. So there's a lot of basically parts that are built in Korea, right? Which is pretty cool. So basically 40% of the production of the aircraft is built in South Korea, and 25% of the assembly is done there as well. That's why the F-15K it was chosen there. So, but the differences mainly are very small, and maybe it would make it not even worth to actually be added. So, for example, the one good thing about this aircraft compared to the F-15E is that it would have an infrared search and track. So an IRST, apparently, the AAS-42, which is pretty cool. But also, he would use the APG-63V1, which is the same radar as the F-15C MSIP2, right? So it wouldn't be an upgrade. Of course, they use common digital processing equipment from the V3, which is an EASA version of that radar. So it can be upgraded to an EASA radar with a new antenna. But in a general sense, it would be added probably just a normal V1. And then later, maybe, because in December 2022, they approved to upgrade these to the APG-82, right? Which is a full EASA radar and stuff. But at the end of the day, even with that, it would be either worse than the F-15E that we have in the game because of the worse radar, or better in certain ways. So, and the differences are very small. So it isn't, I mean, it is interesting enough to be in the game, but wouldn't it be just interesting to have that in its own tech tree, you know, with its own versions and everything with that, right? And the F-16 is basically the same. The KF-16, it is pretty much just a normal F-16C Block 52, right? They can even use some other versions, but talking about the 52, it would have a new radar, but it would be basically the same radar as we have in the Block 50, so the V7 APG-68, right? And everything else would be pretty much the same as other aircraft. Of course, we do not have one of the 32, 42 block 52s, you know, the twos that use the F-100. We don't have it in the game yet, but it is still not enough to be adding in the same tech tree that we have the Block 50, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, you know, it kind of reiterates, it would be cool. These small differences and stuff are perfect when adding to a new tech tree, because it would add flavor to it, Korean flavor that would, you know, be a little bit different here and there to make it work for you to grind. But if you are in the same tech tree that you already have, the F-16s and F-15s and everything, why would you get these aircraft? So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So in my opinion, again, although they are leaking that we might see the US having the South Koreans, we have the War Thunder Mobile getting the South Koreans maybe in the soonish future, I honestly think that they should be a whole full-fledged tech tree, with half of it being north, half of it being south. Controversial enough, you know, it's not too much, it's not too little, it's enough so that people are engaged. If you take a look on the North Koreans, it would be kind of the same, with some little options out there here and there, but in a general sense it would be copy-paste anyway, you know. So, but this would be the only way of adding these, in my opinion, that it would make sense. Otherwise, it would just be more of the same, and even worse of the same, maybe, depending on the situation. So, yeah, it wouldn't be fun. So, let me know in the comments what you think about Korean coming to the US, if that is a leak that becomes true or not. And I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and bye guys, see you.